You guys are specifically trying to coordinate to like make sure you finished Rhyme in time for a podcast that never happened like a month ago. And
Yeah,
now I
because
finished Rhyme. We've all finished Rhyme. It's a rare shared experience. We have a few of those actually to talk about.
Yeah. So, Rhyme.
Journey Ico.
Journey
that's a good way of putting
Ico
it.
with the same ending as Sexy Brutal, but less interesting.
It's a damn shame, you know, because I really
was
liked
so
the ending.
pissed off about
but
that.
to find out that it was based on, like, they had already done the idea, like, 3 months prior, like...
Not even, it was a
really,
month. Like,
really kind of deflated
Sexy
it for
Brutal
me.
was not that much prior. It just felt like it because we hadn't...
Okay, so we're going to preface this by saying...
what yet, but apparently spoiler cast warning.
Yeah, we're going to say that this is a
Rhyme.
huge spoiler cast, because we're going to launch right into talking
Although
about
if
the
you know
ending.
Sexy Brutal, we might have already spoiled it.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
it was bad news, so we spoiled something that was going to piss you off. Therefore, you're welcome.
Some people are totally unfazed by that kind of thing.
Yeah.
A lot of the comments are really positive about it. I've seen worse recently in spoiler Vanishing of Ethan Carter. That is a useless spoiler tag, because before I say you don't know what game I'm potentially spoiling, and when I name it, it's already spoiled. That was a bad idea.
I've seen the ending for that game, and I was like, what?
Anyway, yeah, so Wander, you had some thoughts. Go ahead and
so
spill
I
'em.
was really into Rhyme in the beginning because I really like those like kind of colorful world explory games.
Yeah.
Kind of like Journey style, where like here's kind of like an environment for you to go around and look at, and you know maybe it's like slightly linear, but it's not just totally locking you into one like hallway. And then we immediately went into like the first building, and then it was rails the rest of the way, except for the one section with the bird, which was still rails because the bird would kill you if you went off rails. And it's just like,
yeah, the beginning game suggests that the game's going to be way more open than it is immediately after that area.
I didn't really get that suggestion. I felt like it was railroaded the whole time.
So part of it is like we were wandering around the island a little bit because we found some of those collectibles really early, so we were going to go around looking for them. And then the fox kept yipping at us, so it's like, okay, we'll do some fox objectives and then get back to exploring.
Shut that thing up.
And then we were underground tunnels, and then a bird was chasing us. And Shell's like, go back for the collectibles. And I'm like, I don't think I can.
Yeah,
like,
you're inevitably forced through several points of no return constantly while you're playing the game.
And that was like a huge issue for us because Shell wanted me to explore. And at that point, I'd realized it was going to be a linear experience. And the collectibles probably didn't mean anything. Like, did you guys get a whole lot of the song fragments?
No, I only found
There were
2
song fragments.
We got so you could find like these. You could find these like cool looking conch shells.
Oh yeah. I found like one.
There was costumes, keyholes, toys, lullabies, and disc fragments or something.
The only one that actually quote unquote mattered were the keyholes because they had kind of like a story. Even though now that I think about it, the story is non-existent.
Story in the keyholes didn't matter.
Well, there was another collectible kind of that would change the ending if you found all 3 of the what seemed like a mother figure.
Yeah,
there was a mother figure.
No, there was like this. There was this like kind of ghost that you could find,
like some white thing, and I guess you could find her like 3 times.
Yeah, and if you do, she shows up
twice.
She shows up in the very end for a moment and then fades away with the kid.
Yeah, so given the masculine,
not even
given the masculine character
doing.
shown in as like the cape guy you keep seeing everywhere, I figured that might be some sort of weird like mother representation because it's all you don't have much to go on, and I never got more to go on because I only found her twice.
Yeah, I found her. I found her twice and found about that. I found out about that later, and I was just like, I'm not going back for that. And somebody's like, no, you should. It like makes the ending way more meaningful. I'm like, no, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
It really doesn't. So we should probably back up. Let's actually say what the ending was, or like give a short synopsis for anybody watching this.
In the first place.
Yeah. Okay, so
let's start with that.
So Rhyme is, you start off as this kid washing up on a beach, and you're like, oh, sweet, exploration. And then you find a fox spirit that like guides you through things, which consistently is interesting.
Preface it with like a weird like, oh, we're on a stormy boat, and then flash to being on the beach, and that's what it came
you get
to.
like thrown into the water.
Yeah.
And then you kind of find a fox spirit that starts leading you to puzzles, and after like a whole slew of puzzles and like variety of things, I'm being vague because most of it kind of didn't matter. You get to the very, very end where the main character turns into this like shadow child and then kind of fades from view, and then it switches to you being this like middle-aged old man on the boat that you've been seeing this entire time. Kind of revealing that
every time you beat a level, you get a flashback to the same boat over and over again, and it keeps becoming more and more clear as time goes on that, like, oh, somebody falls off the boat, and then, like, there's like some sort of tragedy going on. And if you ever quit the game and come back in, like, if you don't beat the game in one session, you get a really big warning sign about what the game's going to be about, because the level select screen has a name for each of the chapters. And they're called denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. The 5 stages of grief.
Yep.
Where like denial is the beautiful, like sunny Hawaii type area with pretty ruins and fun creatures, and everything's happy all the time, and so on and so forth. So the whole game's essentially about dealing with loss, which is what the ending then goes to.
I mean, I like the idea of it, but this kind of goes back to my issues with Night in the Woods, Sexy Brutal, and a couple other games where they kind of give you this hint of this, like, this fantasy. And the fantasy could be anywhere from, there's, like, deep eldritch horrors lurking beneath the earth, or the devil that's literally, like, murdering people over and over and over again. Or in this case, the boy was kind of hyped up to be the prince of this, like, lost kingdom. And that's the island that you're on, and that you're kind of chasing the king, and like, maybe you're going to retake the throne and save everybody. And then it forces you back into reality, and it's like, no. It was all a dream. It was all allegorical.
I definitely couldn't help but think about Unfinished Swan constantly while playing this game.
I don't know what that is.
Did neither of you play Unfinished Swan?
No, never did.
Oh. So, I guess you might not have, because it was a PS3, Vita, and PS4 game, because it was published by Sony, but it was a small indie developer, and they made this game where you load into a pure white world, and you throw black paint to color the world around you, essentially. And so, when it's pure white, you literally can't navigate the game, because there's no shadows, no impressions, no sense of movement of any kind. It's only when you paint stuff black that you then have points of reference around your environment. So you're essentially like splatooning the environment, but years and years before that, or Scanner Somber ever came out, and you're just splattering black paint around to navigate. And as you progress through the game, more and more different mechanics are introduced, and settings and different narrative elements that all paint at this idea of like some sort of king that just had the ability to create and was the lord of this whole place. But you get more and more sense that this whole place is about dealing with grief from the real world, and none of it might even be real and stuff like that. Like it's actually interesting how much we retread the exact same premises essentially with indie games nowadays.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't mind that story element, but I hate it when it's kind of the thing at the end. And I mean, I hate this. Yeah, I hate this in, like, every kind of media, movies, video games, TV shows, whatever. You show this, like, cool thing, and then you make it into all a dream, and it annoys me, especially if there's, like, literally zero payoff in the end. Like, sometimes I like it where it's like, it was all a dream, and then there's kind of, like, that last bit where you're like, oh, wait a second, no, it wasn't. And,
I wouldn't say that there was zero payoff. I would say that's not being particularly fair. It might be because you got zero payoff because you had already experienced with Sexy Brutal.
Yeah.
But because I hadn't had that experience, there was still, like, a good deal of emotional, so payoff I got in the very end.
I got the emotional payoff.
You find out the kid died on the boat, and that this entire time it's actually the father grieving the missing son.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to describe in the abstract how it all works, but like if you play it a little bit, you can catch on pretty quickly.
It has a reasonably well done scene for the ending. I was a little irritated by the way that there's an earlier scene where the kid sees the father falling off instead, and it like literally contradicts what actually happened when it's the only time that happens. That's a little irritating because instead of being a reveal, it's a switcheroo when they show the real ending, and that seemed a little unnecessary. But I think really like my biggest gripe with this game isn't its story or anything like that, because I'm generally fine with this overall like emotional arc. For me, I just thought the game was too undemanding and too long for what it was.
The puzzles were minor at
an
best.
Incredibly simple story that it was telling over 5.5 hours, like a full mini-series worth of television, basically, in duration. And it wasn't super heavy on... Like, it did have secrets all over the place, but... And, like, so if you really obsess over that stuff on its own, you can kind of get something out of it, but, like, there's just...
The secrets were, like, annoying. Like,
a little bit.
There was one section in the forest level where I, like, swam really deep down, and I found one secret, but then it kept going, and I'm like, oh, clearly you just keep going down.
Yeah.
Nope. There was nothing down there. There was, like, some weird shark missile-looking things that, like, never showed up again, and I was confused.
Like, in terms of the gameplay and, like, the presentation of a lot of stuff, it almost felt like it was aimed for really young audiences.
Yeah.
But, like, it has a plot that's, like, not really aimed at young audiences, so it's a little bit of like a odd point. One thing that I thought was really strange, and I felt like this was a super missed opportunity with the game, was the fox. There was like I kind of thought that the fox was going to be a lot more.
It was nothing
like a tighter connection to it.
The fox was nothing more than a glorified like this is the way to go.
Yeah, it wasn't even like Navi, though. Like, it was just literally like a sound effect that would tell you where to go.
It also, this game dangles constantly that idea that happens every time you play a game like this, where you have a companion character that's bigger and stronger than you. Like, I'm just trained now by games that go into this whole Ico territory or whatever, to immediately think like, oh, that thing's gonna die. That thing's going to be hurt or die. It's going to pull an Abzu or a Last Guardian or something. They're going to specifically screw with my emotions by making that thing in danger, despite the fact that it's bigger than me, and then that's going to be the big twist. But like we do the exact same thing so often now.
Yeah, I actually thought that the walkie thing that you're talking about, at some point in the game, for people who don't know, this animatronic, like pair of legs, basically, like solves a bunch of puzzles for you, and you actually develop like a lot of like a pretty good connection with that. Way better than the Fox.
Things.
I was making dumb jokes about it the whole way. I was just like, this thing's kind of stupid.
It was hilarious. I loved that thing.
I guess part of it is I'm really jaded. After experiencing The Last Guardian, anything that even comes close to that instantly puts me into like kind of that like snippy yuck phase, because I feel like your perceptions of
Rime are like inherently colored in a pretty bad light by other things that you played around it. Whereas I had like more of a clearer, like more like less of that experience. So
my thing with the walker was that, like,
more generous towards it, I guess.
I liked the walker itself and interacting with it. It was just, there was a constant dangling thing of like, it's going to get hurt or die. It's going to get hurt or die. It's going to get hurt or die. Oh, it died.
The puzzle elements that you did with the walker were definitely the highlight of that game.
Yeah.
That section was by far the most polished and fun.
I guess I liked the bird section because Shell was freaking out constantly about it, so it kind of gave...
But the bird section, if you know anything about how video games are designed, you know how the bird section works, and you can, like, there's, like, no challenge to it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Actually, just like that entire chapter more than any other part of the game, because it was two separate elements that were both, you have a time limit to get from point A to point B without dying, which was bird and drowning. And they go back and forth between the two, and I'm like, that's not. I just want like those are both mechanics that are the antithesis of exploring in a game that seems to want you to explore because of collectibles. Oh and that was the chapter where I gave up on collectibles because I'm like, well, that's not fun to get collectibles in.
That was the point where I gave up too, and I think I finally convinced Shell to, because it's just like after we cleared out the bird, we had
points
to go...
of no return.
Yeah, we had to actually go back through the level. After we killed the bird, just to get everything, and it's just like, this just isn't worth it. Like, let's focus on finishing this game and having a good time, as opposed to like churning out collectibles, which we already know for a fact that we've missed.
Yeah, because they make it clear where they give you an idea of where each one is, which makes it clear when you've missed ones along the way.
Yeah,
but really, more than anything, it's just the there's a certain sense where like, you move too slowly and everything's really spaced out, and something about just like the moment-to-moment gameplay was just a little too slow. Because like I can just mindlessly wander around and explore in a game like Zelda or Prey or so many other games, and I will do it for way too long So like
Yeah.
taking way too long to explore is a thing I do all the time, but in Rime specifically, it's so spaced out and so mechanically almost non-existent how much you can actually do with the environment that despite the fact that it seems to want you to explore, I found the exploration mostly unstimulating. And it tells a similar story to many, 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 many indie games that have happened lately, along with the visual style and the arc and the swooning music where you can hire Lindsay Sterling and stuff like that. But the problem is that Journey is 90 minutes long and Unfinished Swan is 2 hours long, and this game was like 5.5 hours long. But
I feel like
of similar density.
Yeah.
Going back to Journey, part of the reason why Journey kind of gets away with it is because the actual like moment-to-moment moving around is really fun.
Yeah, you like
sand
playing
surfing.
Journey.
Yeah, sand surfing, like plot beyond, I would play a game that's just like a racing game as Journey.
Yeah, and like
Because it would be so fun to, yeah.
Like Scanner Summer and Unfinished Swan both have like slow movement, but the physical act of exploring is you have to physically uncover the environment around you via the core mechanic. So they make exploring and moving around inherently entertaining while you're doing it. They're giving you something to do, even though it's a game that's largely about not having something to do, basically. And so Rime lacks that kind of feeling. You're not sand surfing or chiming or charging jumps or you're just pushing a direction and you push a stick in a direction, and then eventually you do really the very, very, very overdone Uncharted style like poopy ledges climbing, where you find a bunch of ledges with white smears on them, and you have a linear platforming
I was commenting
section.
it's just nothing but bird shit covering those.
I'm so tired of linear platforming sections that are basically not gameplay, but like a weird like sequential thing of what order do I press these directions in.
It did not help starting that. I was comparing it to Breath of the Wild, which I had actually finished maybe like a week or two before, and I'm like, this climbing sucks now that I've played that game. Like, it spoiled me so hard being able to just climb anything.
I thought something that was really interesting was it really felt like the movement controller was kind of an out-of-the-box, like you buy it from the Unreal Asset Store and you drop it into your game.
It was
very,
totally
there was
feels
very real
like
moments of pressing stuff and not quite getting the result you thought you would.
It felt like it was very much like it wasn't made for that game, but it was made to be something you could drop into any game, and they might have needed more time to tweak the controller to be more suitable for what level designs were like.
Part of it is they were making 2, maybe 3 games. I think they're working on another one right now. Like, that is a small studio that is stretched thin. Yeah.
I think that
although all their studios have like 2 developers listed per thing, so it's hard to make sense of it a little bit.
I mean, I think that despite everything else, though, like I think that the level design like actually was very good because I felt like I always knew exactly where I needed to go, and maybe you guys didn't enjoy the like linearity of it so much, but I, kind of took some time to smell the roses and stuff like that, like along the various paths. I didn't go too far out of my way, but I like that I was always able to like
you go out of your way once and regret it vocally early on. We're like, let's go down there onto that shore and see what's over this. There's nothing here. Why did I think there'd be something here? All right, let's go all the way.
Are you talking about when you find the broken down robot and stuff?
I only watched your stream for a moment because I wasn't trying to spoil myself, but I saw you like descend down to a sandy area thinking something might be down there, and it was just a huge like waste of time. And you're like, oh, what have I done? I've got to come up with stuff to say while I go back up.
that was a bit of a challenge, but I don't know. I didn't mind it so much. It's
not a bad
but
game.
I know exactly which part you're talking about.
I think I might have been more positive about it if they had just gotten rid of the collectibles, because then there was a payoff for exploring, and if there wasn't a payoff, like if there wasn't a collectible at like the end of an exploration segment, it was just kind of disappointing. Journey, to go back to it, there were collectibles that you could find like hidden everywhere, but most of them were either kind of like these little story fragments that didn't matter at all, or the like tapestry bonus, the scarf stuff, which was actually useful and gave you a reason to go back to the game.
They even interestingly became an authority system in Journey, because if you got every single collectible, then you got the white costume, which made you look even more different from the main character. So if you show up in other people's games like that, you look even more like an authority that's worth like following for knowledge reasons, because you are super knowledgeable about the game.
You know what would have been amazing is if it did actually have the Journey like multiplayer system, where
that would have been awesome. Somebody plays the goddamn fox.
I was about to say
exactly. Like, you beat the game. Nobody even, like, mentions this beforehand. You beat the game, and then it's just like, oh, by the way, now you get to play as the fox. And it's just
that would actually be pretty cool.
That'd be an insane surprise.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty obvious the fox was a person if he was controlled by a person in your game, though.
Because he'd lead you to fall down cliffs like an asshole.
Or like
I would be fine with that
behavior, basically.
Yeah,
it's like it'd be way more clear, and then that would kind of preemptively kind of give away that you can be the fox, probably. But the
I just think that would be kind of like this fascinating other side thing.
For me, I guess the takeaway about this game is just like I think it's a good game. I think it's going to be forgotten.
Yes.
Like, I think it suffers from being very, very, very derivative of other indie projects that have come out over the last 5 years, to the point where every single comment was practically how this game is this game, and this game is this game, and this game is this game. Yeah. Like, the list was so long of every game that they thought that they were being reminded of. Between that and the lack of polish here and there, like, I think it's just not... It's not the standout memorable thing that like, say, Sexy Brutale was, where it's like, this is weird. What is this?
So, Bird, you played the PC version, right?
Yes, I played the PC version.
How did it perform?
Fine.
Okay.
I needed to crank it down a little bit, but I have older hardware.
Did you hear why the performance was so garbage?
Was it like running a PS4 emulator or something?
Nope. Denuvo. You know, the antivirus that's like constantly kind of railed against. Yep. So they had Denuvo in, I think, as kind of a deal with their publisher, which was kind of weird, but whatever. But apparently their implementation of Denuvo was like, it was referencing whatever system a couple million times a second sometimes, depending on like what they were doing.
I mean, I thought it was kind of weird that I was going to I had to crank it down at all, because I never have to go off of Ultra.
Yeah.
But like, I guess now I know why.
With your all-seeing mega computer.
But so there was like kind of a huge controversy
game too.
Yeah.
So the lack of polish is a little alarming for that price.
Yeah. So the Steam reviews were super negative, at least for the first couple days. I don't know what they are now.
They are now very positive.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
it was kind of unplayable for a lot of people.
All things considered, like, I think that people should still pick up this game. I mean, it's not going to be
maybe on sale.
Yeah,
maybe when it's on sale.
Please, go get Sexy Brutale first, because it's cheaper and better.
Ultimately, like, these developers clearly have some really good chops behind them, and I would like to see them succeed, because they do some really fucking great stuff. And so if you want to play Rime, like, definitely go out and do it. It's really actually pretty cool, in my opinion. And also you're giving money to some people that you're giving money to people that like really deserve it, because they're
Sexy Brutale,
super impressive.
Deadlight, Journey, Abzu. I would say start with Abzu.
I'm saying Sexy Brutale and Deadlight are their other two games.
They are the Deadlight people.
Yeah, this is the developer of Deadlight.
Yeah, they're and
it's the publisher of Grey Goo.
There's some good people. Like, they should get some money thrown their way.
that's part of the reason why I played the game. Is I actually bought it when I was at E3, not E3, PAX South. One of my friends was manning the gray box. Yeah. He was manning the booth, and he's like, "Hey, have you heard about Rime?" And I'm like, "Nope." And he's like, "Here's a shirt. Play the game."
Are you wearing the Rime shirt right now?
No, I'm not. I think it's dirty.
Why did we even have this podcast?
If you give me a second, I could go get it. I forgot that we were going to talk about Rime. Okay,
by the way, Rime has a perfect Metacritic score that perfectly summarizes my opinion of the game, which is a 78.
Yeah, I mean,
firmly in the green.
Yeah, so it's not a bad game.
It's not bad. It's so not bad. It's pretty.
It's
but
pretty.
it's just-
the music is good, but it does sound like kind of band in the box.
There's a lot of
Like-
there's a lot of directions that could improve it, and it has performance problems, and
I
it's
feel like-
weirdly mechanicless.
Yeah. I feel like Rhyme like builds to a lot of like good emotional payoffs here and there,
Yeah.
but as far as a game is concerned, like it does lack a lot of polish.
It's good at making the moment
But-
of I go over here and I put the big mystical thing on the other thing, and the landscape changes, and whoa, look at that!
Yeah,
Like
it
that kind of
really
stuff
does
happening.
nail that. It's pretty fun.
And my
But-
favorite moment of the whole game might have been the time of day changing orb. And like it's established as a thing you can interact with in the environment that changes the time of day, and that's really cool. And then the bird steals it, and the act of the bird stealing it is like rapidly changing the time of day in sync with the motion of it, like trying to grab it and it falling out of its claws and trying again a few
Yeah.
times. Like that was that
was
was like
pretty
the
cool.
coolest visual of the game for me.
What I thought is really interesting though is like if you've worked with the Unreal Engine and you know what it can do, like a lot of what makes that game tick is actually just straight out of the box, like vanilla Unreal 4 things that you have access to. Like the skybox changing the color and stuff like that. Like literally I can open up Unreal 4 and have that effect done in like 30 seconds. Because it's
Yeah.
just built into the way the engine works. Which isn't a bad thing, but it just is
It's
very
clever use of resources.
It's very clever.
I mean, yeah, it's basically up into the territory of like going into Minecraft and typing in the time of day command rapidly to change the time of day really quick.
Yeah, and like that's just vanilla baked into like the default skybox asset in that game.
Yeah.
And there was just so many moments where I was like, oh yeah, I know how they made that. And I've never really had that with a video game before, so that was kind of very interesting. Because usually, like, if you look at something, you're like, I have no idea how they pulled this off, but it's neat. But like with that game, I was like, oh yeah, this is how they did that.
I definitely got just like a little bit of whiplash from like how much Sexy Brutale was like this big fresh of breath air. Wow, sentence.
Big
breath
fresh of breath air.
It's a big breath of fresh air of how like this is a crazy isometric adventure game, murder mystery, time travel game. And then Rhyme is like the all indie.
Yeah.
It is like the amalgamation. It is the most derivative thing in the world next to like it's published like a month away from the game they made that was like actually like relentlessly innovative despite being technically things we've seen before. It's I just hope we get more of the I hope we get more of the one where they go in interesting new directions and less of the one where they kind of chase trends. Because this definitely felt like it was a trend.
Yeah. It felt like there were... Isn't there like another game by the studio that's making Journey that also kind of has to do with like...
Yeah, they got a new game coming out in next year.
I want to
Called
say...
Hello Games.
Yeah, I want to say they're...
From that game company? Is that still a company?
Yeah,
That game company,
It's,
that's the
Hello
one.
Games is...
No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Well, they both have fucking game in the title, and they're both kind of like quirky. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. But I think they've got another one coming, and I want to say it actually kind of looks similar.
Weird.
Well, this game is clearly like inspired by like a lot of other games that came before it,
this
which
is
isn't
super
necessarily a bad thing, but
this
it
is super
doesn't.
far off topic, but I just feel like bringing this up, which is I was looking at that game company's page, and it says that Journey was the first video game to ever get a sound nomination for a Grammy for a video game score.
Yes.
That's
but it lost
true.
but it lost to The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo from Trent Reznor
That's
and Atticus Ross.
Yep.
That was just a weird thing to find.
Didn't Echo win something? Not Echo. What is it called? Flow.
Flow, I believe Flow won. That was a game award, though, that it won. But it was kind of unknown because indie games... I believe so, anyway. Indie games weren't like much of a thing at that point.
I thought Flow was like one of the first games to win something that no video game soundtrack had won before, but I straight up don't remember what I'm talking about.
Okay, now I'm looking at an old tease tweet they made about their next game, and from all the way back in November, and it is interesting how much it absolutely looks like a screenshot of Rhyme.
Yeah, that's... I actually
looks like a picture
originally...
of Rhyme.
when I had been like looking at Rime, I actually was like, wait, is this a That Game Company game? Because it was so similar to that screenshot.
Yeah.
Which worries me a little bit because there's a very small possibility that they almost kind of made this game to be like, okay, people are kind of looking for that. Let's make it
I don't know if the
quick.
development cycle would fit that timeline.
Probably not.
Flo got nominated for a British Academy Award.
Ow.
Like,
Well,
that's what they were getting at.
That's slightly less cool, but still.
Because you have to look up what it means.
Well, everyone's heard of the Academy of British Sciences.
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to
Definitely.
develop the best corgi, we are.
It's like the Academy of American Sciences, but it's from not America. Right? I don't know if there's even an American one.
Dude, you really fucked up that joke.
Yeah, that was
Was it even a joke?
Yes. And regrettably,
Regrettably, we now have to live with it.
you have to live with it. I have to judge you.
All right, and so I think
All
so
right.
ends the Rime spoiler cast that I might actually just
Yep,
cut into
yep.
a separate video.
I'm gonna
was like
give it a
40
thumbs
minutes
up.
long.
I enjoyed it. I think people should buy it and play it.
I am pretty positive to neutral on it.
Mm-hmm.
Tentative recommendation for people who
if
feel
it
like
goes
that
down
exact
to like
game.
if it goes
Yeah, if it
down
goes
to like
down on sale.
$5, I'm down.
I mean, if
but,
you're jonesing
like,
for that kind of game, it's probably not a terrible choice because of the fact that every game in that genre is so short that you never have a backlog of them.
It's true.
So if you're like, oh man, I need more journey type games, then here's your one for this afternoon.
Mhm.
It's almost long enough for 2 afternoons.